Hello and welcome to MB Tech. My name is Matt Bingham, and today we will continue on with the installation of Katello. As I mentioned before, Katello is a huge product. There's multiple different parts to it. I'm trying to break it down into real small parts and go into different, areas of the actual interface itself. Like I said, it's very complex. I'm still learning it to this day. So I'll just go over the first part that we're going to be doing today, or for this one part, and that will be setting up the actual product. So we'll create the product, we'll download and import GPG keys, we'll create the RPM repositories, we'll sync the RPM repositories. Once all that stuff has been done, we'll be able to view it actually in the web GUI, and I'll be going back and forth between command line and web GUI. I do like to use Hammer. Hammer is a command line interface tool for Foreman, and it seems to be very efficient in my mind. Some people like to do it all GUI. You can do it either way. So I will be doing the command line, but I will show you how it looks in the GUI as well after I've done the command lines for those. So as I mentioned, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to log into our Katello box that we set up in the first video. So let me SSH into that box. A little bit bigger. Okay, so the biggest thing we need to do here is we have defaults that you can set within Hammer, and what we want to do is set the organization parameter, and we also want to set the location parameter. So we're going to log into the GUI just so you can see this information, because this is how it was set up in the previous one. So admin and the password that we used when we set it up, and up here at the top you can see here's your organization, so we want that to be MB Tech, and our location we want to be Bing Lab for here. Now yours is going to be completely different. It could be the name of your company, your lab, whatever you want to do to set that up. So those are the two parts that we're going to set up in Hammer so that they use those specific parameters. So here we're going to put Hammer defaults, add, and then param name, organization, and then as I mentioned, the param value. MB Tech. So you can see that it added that part. Now we're going to do, instead of the organization, we're going to do location, and that's going to be our Bing Lab. Okay, and then to see those, we can actually just do a Hammer defaults list, and it'll show you your organization and location. As I mentioned, that is the same as the GUI here, basically selecting it from the top there, so you don't have to put those in all of your commands and stuff like that. Okay, next thing we're going to do is actually create a product. So that'll be web GUI. You'd go to the products, so you go to content and products. As you can see, there are currently no products that we've had here. Now you could create the product here by clicking this button, but like I said, we're going to be doing it from Hammer. So we'll go back to the command line. So it'll be Hammer product create, name, I'm just going to call it CentOS 07 repos, and then just a description. Okay, hit enter on that. And it says product created. So here we can actually do a hammer product list. If we do that, we see that it has a ID, name, and organization, 0 repositories, and sync state. Now if we go back to the web GUI, we can go back to products. We can see now that there's a CentOS 07 repos, and that the repository for CentOS 7 has never been synced, and there's no repositories that are part of that. So the next step that we're actually going to do is we're going to do the import of the GP keys, the download and import of GPG keys, and then once we have those keys, then we will basically assign them to an actual repo itself. So the first thing we're going to want to do is go back to our terminal or our SSH session in. Okay, after the product's been created, what we're going to need to do now is take the GPG keys provided from CentOS and add them to our own repo, basically. So we need to download those using the wget command. But first we need to create the directory to keep those. So we're going to just do a make directory etc pki. And that way we can keep ours separate from other keys that are in there. And then we're going to change into that directory. And now we're in the import directory that we just created. And then what we want to do now is run the wget command. And that wget command is going to be, as I mentioned, from the CentOS website. So we're going to download their public key. And we downloaded it to that directory. Do a quick list and we can see that it's there. Once that's done, now we're actually going to use hammer again. So we'll do hammer gpg create key, and it's going to be rpm-gpg, and name, we're going to keep that the same as well. Enter, and now the key has been created. We can do a hammer gpg key or list, and that'll give us a list of the keys. We only have the one key. There it is. So that part of it's done. Okay, next what we need to do is actually create a repository, and we're going to be creating the CentOS 7 base repository, then we're going to create the extras repository, and then we're actually going to create the updates repository. So the first one we're going to do, these I've had canned from previous setups, but I wanted, instead of me typing it all out, you can see it real quick and not watch me type. So we got hammer repository create. We're going to have the product CentOS 07 repos, which is the name that we created for the product, if you remember. If we go back here at CentOS repos, and you can see right now there's no repositories. Name of it, label it, content type is yum, download policy on demand. There's the GPG key that we created earlier just within this video, and then the mirror of where we're going to pull that from, and do we want it to be on sync, and no. So after that command's put in, we'll hit enter. And it says that the repository is created. So that's means that all of our syntax was right and everything was good there. So I'm going to flip back to the web GUI real quick and want to show you that in here, if we refresh this, our repositories now say 1. And if we click the actual name, we can actually see that repository is there. Base x64, 0 packages, 0 RATA, nothing in there. It makes sense because we haven't synced it, we haven't done anything. So just wanted to show you that from the web GUI. Okay, so we've got that one created. Now we're actually going to create the next. So we're just going to change a couple labels here and make it real easy. It's going to be the same product. So we want to keep that the same, but this time it's actually going to be extras. So extras underscore 86, and then instead of the label is going to be extras 86. Content is yum, policy on demand, all the same information. It's actually from the, instead of OS, it's going to be the extras 8664, and hit enter here. And that repository has been created. So we've got 2 repositories now. Next one we're going to do actually is the updates. So basically it's going to be the same command. We're just going to change the name to extra. I'm sorry, update instead of extras. And then we'll have the updates. Updates, content, policy on demand, all that's the same key. This instead of extras is going to be updates. And hit enter to create that. So we've created 3 repositories. So now if we go back to the web GUI, we should be able to see in here there'll be 3 of them once we refresh it. But we'll go to products, so we'll see the products. We've got the one product, and it says it's got 3 repositories. So then we hit repos, and now we can see we've got base, extras, and updates. So 0 packages have been there. We have not synced any of those, so none of those have been done. Now we could hit this arrow here and then say sync now, and it'll actually go out and sync them, or we could do it from the command line. So like I said, I prefer to use hammer, so we will use hammer to do that. So we will go back to the SSH session to that, and then from there we're actually going to run from the hammer command. We can also get the list of the repos, and that's just a hammer repository. And we can see that we've got the 3, same as that we had in the web GUI over here. We've got 3 base, extras, and updates. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to synchronize them. You could synchronize them through the web GUI here. You actually say select all and then sync now. But we're going to do it through the hammer command. So basically you're just going to create a little loop here. And it's going to basically go through the sequence of 5 through 7. It's going to do the repository synchronization on the product CentOS repos, which is the product, and it's just going to loop it through until it's done. This is going to take some time, so I will fast forward this to make sure that it's not a very long video. Right now it's starting on the first one, which would be 5, so it's actually doing the base. And you can see the percentage here on the right, and it's at 0%, but you'll see that increase over time. Okay, it looks like all 3 of those have synced. We can now go into the GUI and see if we have a listing of the packages. So we'll go content products, repos, and there we go. We've got our base, extras, and updates with all of the packages. And that's it for this part of it. Next part we'll actually go into creating a content view and explain that a little bit more in detail, how to do it, what steps need to be taken for that. Again, please like, subscribe, let me know if I need to get into more detail, less detail, other topics you'd like me to cover, and that type of information. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks a lot and have a good day.